Hello and welcome to Hemlocks and Loons. This is a new series of videos that we're starting called Gear Room, where we talk about gear, fixing gear, repairing gear, new gear, gear reviews, anything along those lines. And I am Forrest, and I've been looking to get back into winter camping. And part of that comes putting together a Pulk to make travel in the woods in the snow a lot easier. You know, the big thing is if you try to take a backpack with you during the winter, it's going to cause you to sink deeper in the snow, even if you're on skis or snowshoes. And so a way to avoid that is to pull your stuff behind you in a sled or a Pulk. The other thing is it'll also allow you to bring more gear and equipment because you're pulling the weight versus carrying the weight. So not only am I going to tell you where I got the different pieces to put this sled together, I will also put a list up on screen with the prices for each of those items. Most of the stuff is brand new, with the biggest exception being this bag. This is an old bag that I'm repurposing for this Pulk, but otherwise everything else is new. So let's get started. Okay, let's talk about the items that I purchased for this project and the tools that you're going to need to put everything together. First off, let's start with my sled. This is a Terran deer drag sled that I bought at Blaine's Farm and Fleet here in Wisconsin. The sled is 65 inches long, 22 inches wide, and it's 5-inch deep. It already came pre-drilled with 4 sets of holes to put a rope through. We are not going to be using rope, we're going to be using webbing to secure our stuff, but with that, the back set of holes are a little too far back. I'm going to move them between this hole and that last hole, just somewhere around in here. Next, I went on skipulk.com. This is not a sponsored video. Skipulk.com is just where I happen to go to purchase some things. Next, I got the poles. I thought about doing them DIY using like PVC conduit, but in the end it was just a little bit too much work, and at the same time I really liked their fiberglass poles. I have those sit here. This is a set of their fiberglass poles. We'll talk a little bit more about them later when we get to putting them on. But they're 6 foot long, and I think they're going to work really well for this over the conduit or the pipe. Next, from skipulk.com, I also, along with those poles, came the hardware, brackets, everything you need to attach those poles to the sled. So it came in with 1 bag of brackets and then 1 bag with all the hardware that you need. Next, I purchased 5 yards of 1-inch webbing off of Amazon, and then I cut that webbing into 32-inch lengths for this, and so each one, there'll be 32 inches on each side. Buckles is the other thing I purchased. I purchased 4 sets of buckles. These are quick release or side release buckles. As you can see here, they have they can be laced on either side, and that's what you want for these. The reason I want these, and the reason you probably want these too, is it'll allow you to more adjustability in your webbing, and then also, depending on what your load is, you may want to move around where you have your buckles lie on this, and it means you can tighten them down from either side. What you don't want to get are the ones like this, where it's laced on one side but the other side just has a single piece. These are designed to be sewn. If you want, you can purchase the webbing with the buckles from skipulk.com. They have them there. I just I just happen to already have the webbing, and so really all I needed to order were the buckles. Skipulk.com also included instructions for this, which was really nice. It makes determining what I need for tools a whole lot easier. So let's talk about tools. Tools. So the tools you need for this job include a drill. You're going to need something to mark, like a pencil or a Sharpie, something along those lines. You're going to need a 1/4-inch drill bit. You're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver and either a 7/16 inch wrench or socket to tighten the nuts on the screws. The other thing you're going to need is a tape measure. Because I'm not using the sled that they recommended, I have to do things a little bit differently, and I first need to take my bracket and figure out where approximately I want that to sit. Normally they have it just a few inches back from the front of the sled, but because I have a curved nose sled, I got to get to a point where that curve stops and we start going in a straight, and then I want to move this bracket around and see where things are going to sit well. And for me, I'm thinking right about there. So what I'm going to do is take this bracket, try to get it in line as much as possible, and then I'm going to draw where my hole is going to go, and then we're going to drill this. So I got my drill all ready. We're going to go ahead and make that first hole. Okay. Then we're going to go into our bag of hardware. And we're going to stick our screw in. For this next part, once that screws in, we want to make sure we get this lined up right where we want it. And we drill those right through the plate. Then you can pop that out. And this piece is the piece that that your end of your poles actually attaches to. So that's going to go up front, and you're going to move this plate that we were using on top to get all these holes lined up, and move that to the bottom. Put that in, and then put a couple of these nuts on hand tight. These nuts are have the nylon on the inside, so they'll lock down. For the back piece, you got these fender washers. You put the fender washer down on top, then the screw. Make sure it goes through the bracket underneath, and get that on. Then take your screwdriver and your wrench, or in this case I got a socket. And I'm actually going to grab a bigger screwdriver that'll hold a little bit better in these. Okay, so I got a little bit bigger screwdriver now. And that's working much better. Okay. Okay, now you're just going to repeat that same thing on the other side. I am going to take one quick measurement and make sure that that these end up even. But other than that, we're done with that. We'll get the other one done now. Okay, one final thing on these brackets. You have these safety pins that attach your poles onto the sled. When you put these on, you always want to slide them from the inside to the out, and so that the safety pit latch is on the outside. Why you want to do that way, do you say? Well, that way, for some reason, the pin comes undone, the safety part comes undone, and of course I can't get it. If it comes undone and then rattles loose, it falls into your sled, not on the outside, not on the ground, and potentially get lost in the snow. So always put those on from the inside to the outside, like that. So now we're going to talk about installing the webbing. Okay, so for the webbing, I purchased, I can't remember, I think I said 5 yards earlier. I think it may have actually been a 10 yard or 12 yard roll of 1-inch webbing. The webbing I cut into 32-inch long sections, and I cut one end square and one end at an angle. And the reason I did that end at an angle is so that it would slide through the hole easier. I'm going to start off by threading the webbing through one side of it so it's ready. And I'm just going to start in the middle because it's easiest here. But then you're going to take that angled piece, bring it through, and then once you pull it through, all we're going to do is tie a simple overhand knot. I think that will be more than enough to keep the webbing from sliding out of that hole. But one thing you want to do is give it a good tug once you get that tied and through there, and that way you make sure it seats. We're going to do the same thing. Weave this piece through, just like that. Bring that through the hole on the other side. Pull it far enough that we have enough end here to do an overhand knot. Pull up tight, make sure that's nice and seated, and there you go. There's your strap. And you can tighten these way down. If you want to even get them nice and even while you do this, there you go. And basically, you're just going to repeat that process for the next 3 holes on each side. There you go, they're all in. One thing you may want to consider is making sure that you put the buckles on all the same direction, because if you do ever want to crisscross these, where you go in this kind of X pattern, if the buckles aren't put on all the same direction, it won't work. I just noticed this last one I did not put on the same way, and as you see, I got 2 female buckles here and 2 male buckles here. So I'm going to go and change this last one out, and then we'll be good. Okay, so the bag I'm using is from a company called Nargear. Nargear makes, I think they make stuff for the military, they make search and rescue stuff, and I also believe they make equipment for wildland firefighters. This bag is water resistant, so it's not waterproof, but there's covers for all the zippers, and then this exterior material is a waterproof material. It's 122 liters, or 7440 cubic inches. It's 31 by 16 by 15, and the nice thing about it is they pack into itself, but they have backpack straps. So if you need to carry this on your back, you could. But it should be large enough to fit most of the stuff I need. And then as you can see on this sled, it leaves me a bunch of room up front where I can put other stuff. I strapped a few things on top. They seem pretty secure, so we're good there. And we got all the buckles tight. One thing I did notice is, as you can see, this buckle's sliding as I pull on it. And that's because I put these buckles in upside down, so I'm going to have to fix these once again. This is the one that I flipped from left to right, but when I did that, I obviously put them in upside down. The rest are all holding fine. So let me fix that and we'll move on to the poles. Okay, so these are the poles again, and they have the ones I purchased have two different ends. On this end they have like an eye bolt. This is the end that's going to go to your harness. And then the other end has these, let's see if you can see them there. They're like ball bearing, or bearing, they're like a bearing connection. So they swivel and turn so that as you move your poles around, they turn at this pivot point instead of putting a lot of wear on your safety clips. And then in the middle there is this Velcro strap, and that's because generally I'm going to be going through wooded, hilly terrain, and you're going to want these crossed for more stability of the sled. You can go straight, but generally that's more for like crossing glacier fields and that sort of thing, which I'm not going to be doing, especially around here. So I'm going to leave mine crossed. To install them, you just remove the safety pins. Line up the holes and replace the safety pin. The same with the other side. Remember, we want to go from inside to outside with these safety pins. And that's it. This Velcro can then slide up or down to lengthen or widen or narrow the part that hits on your harness. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of my videos and have them suggested to you more often in your feed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thanks. Okay, so it's the next day, and I got my harness. I'm not super excited about it. These connection points in the back here are a little too much straight on the back and not on the sides where I'd like them. The reason you want them more on the sides than in the back is so that when you're going downhill, that these rods aren't hitting you in the back. But this is the final setup.
Now I don't have a ton of weight on here, but this is pulling quite nicely. Seems to be tracking well. And I was a little worried about the length related to the fact that I had to put the attachment points on the sled a little bit further back, but I think they'll be fine. Mostly what I'm worried about is if I'm wearing skis, that'll be hitting it with my skis, but I think we'll be good there. So with that, thanks for watching, and hope to see you back here again soon. Bye.